Try that with volume. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, March the 7th at 2:00 p.m. in Osoyoos Town Council chambers. First item of business would be the adoption of minutes, looking for committee of the whole minutes from February the 21st and the regular open meeting minutes from February 21st for adoption. Any discussion? Hearing none, they'll be adopted by consensus. Business arising from prior minutes. There's a notice of motion here on a report from Councillor Ryan. This will appear later on in the agenda under item J, notice of motion. We'll deal with that then. There are some late items today. The official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 123009 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1085.84, both 2011, Fire Hall property, be added to the agenda under Section 8 Bylaws as item number 5. And there's one other item to be added, and this would be a Child Care Excellence Awards. We're looking at a recognition for them. That will come up under Business 6. I think that deals with the amended agenda. A motion to accept, please. Councillor Ryan Cronmiller. Any discussion? Adopted by consensus. No delegations today. And there is water matters. And it's been put under bylaws. Okay, thank you. We'll deal at with the regular bylaw procedure then. And correspondence coming. We have a letter from Mayor Ashton, City of Penticton, and Councillor Rhodes. Could you take the point on that?
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Mayor Ashton from the City of Penticton has written us a letter dated February 23rd. And it's a letter requesting support on a matter. And I'm just going to read the first few paragraphs. It's quite a lengthy report, but I think we'll get the essence of it from the first few paragraphs. Dear Mayor and Council, the City of Penticton is seeking support from local governments and key organizations in the South Okanagan-Similkameen to have a correctional center located within the South Okanagan Region. The submission must be received by the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General, Corrections Branch by April 1st, 2011, and such council would appreciate it if you could place this item on your next agenda so that the responses could be received back to us by Friday, March 18th, 2011. So the project background is December 2010, the Solicitor General, Rich Coleman, wrote to the local governments in the Okanagan requesting assistance in identifying a suitable site for a secure provincial correction center in the Okanagan area. I'm sure anyone that's been following the news lately have noticed that this is a possibility. The letter goes on to say the City of Penticton was interested in pursuing this concept and passed a resolution in December of 2010 directing staff to enter into discussion with the ministry and seek more information. The preliminary discussions were favorable and the city embarked on identifying possible locations that would meet the ministry's site suitability criteria. During this time, Council brought the information to the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen Board, who unanimously supported investigating the benefits of having a correctional facility in the South Okanagan region. Since then, meetings have taken place with representatives from the ministry, the RDOS Similkameen, District of Summerland, and the Penticton Indian Band to explore the concept further. A fact sheet was produced, circulated, and advertised based on information received from the ministry in the public meeting that was held on January 31st to gauge public interest in having a facility located in the area. So there is a fact sheet with some stuff on there. Pretty interesting reading. I'd really encourage anybody to follow this up. And the essence of the letter is that they're asking for our support in this endeavor.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. And if I may add, in a latter discussion with the Mayor of Penticton, this letter is really for the South Okanagan. And while some of the information that was part of the report is District of Summerland in the City of Penticton and the Penticton Indian Band, if we do send a letter of support, it is to be for the whole South Okanagan, which would encompass all of the regional district communities in the South Okanagan. And I've heard a few rumors that there are other communities than the three that were mentioned in the report. There is for sure one other community that may be interested in applying for this. So I guess I'm asking Council what they would like to do, sending this letter of support. Again, there's a sample letter in here, and it's a pretty generic letter supporting the correctional institution in the South Okanagan. So Council, what are your wishes? Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that we offer this letter of support with those definitions in there, and that being that it is a district thing, and that would be my motion.
Okay, and the seconder, Councillor Chadsey. Any further dialogue on this, Councillor Cronmiller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know I've been approached by members of the community here and spoken about the value of something like this to the economy of a small community such as ours, and I think it's really important to at least speak to that. And I know that we're at the south end of the Okanagan Valley, and for a facility such as this to be near major centers with courthouses that are deal with a lot of people from a facility, a long drive, and it kind of puts us outside the area of being able to apply for this. However, having said that, I think it's really important for the South Okanagan region to apply for it, and certainly I think there are spin-offs for us if the facility were to be located somewhere in the region. I know it'll be probably closer to Kelowna than anywhere, but certainly would be beneficial to us, so I would support the motion.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I'd just like to say that there's approximately 265 jobs, and if something did happen in the South Okanagan, it could be quite exciting for us, and it could lift a lot of boats. You know, we're looking at school enrollment and things like that, and also our airport. It would really do a big job in securing that Penticton airport, and maybe there may be start opening up to traffic into Calgary or something like that. So there are some positives for the area. So I'm glad that we have this motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will send that generic letter that's out there. Next item of business comes under bylaws, and we have Sewer Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw number 1065.12, 2011. First three readings and a report from the Director of Finance. And before he starts, I'd just like to say it's so great to have these afternoon meetings where we get to have staff here, and they actually report out not only to the community but to council. So it's a real bonus and a real pleasure to have our staff here at these afternoon meetings reporting out. So Mr. Zackel, please, and he's got about 4 bylaws he's going to present here. So Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So the first bylaw that's being brought forward is a Sewer Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1065.12 of 2011. Some summary of our 2011 operating expenses for the sewer fund, less transfers to reserves, contingencies, and capital expenditures has actually decreased by $4,064 for 2011 to a total balance of $1,116,276. This results in a 0.36% decreased operating expenditures for the sewer fund. However, being proposed for this amending bylaw is to increase rates by 25 cents per month, which equates to $3 per year for single-family residents. All the remaining sewer user fees are to increase by 1.44% accordingly. That increase in rates allows for additional capital funds to be done. The amount that's increased equates to $47,824. And the 2011 capital projects that we've got coming forward for council for the community is the lagoon upgrading, the flow meters, the golf course lift station and at Desert Park. Those are projects that were carried forward from 2010. We got our Legion Beach trunk sewer upgrading, which is improving our main lift station here in the community. The Northwest Sector Sewer Project, this is a continuation of the sewer extension to the north end of Osoyoos Lake, and that project's moving ahead fairly well now. A sewer locator for Public Works, the sewer extension to the marina. We have the Oasis Vedette Drive on-site services. That's for the development by Peanut Pond, the medical facility, and the road networking there. And also the Sani Dump Station, a new Sani Dump Station to be located up at 115th Street, up by Public Works. From those capital projects, the total amount of capital projects that we have in our budget for 2011, it's $5,870,800. The source of funding for these projects comes from Sewer Operating Fund, which is $250,000, government grants, which is $3,563,700, and other contributions of $2,057,100. Implications to the community: it is improved infrastructure, and as we're all well aware with the Northwest Sector Sewer Project, is improved water quality. The single-family residential rate for the town of Osoyoos is going to increase to $212 from the $209. Rural sewer is going from $302 to $305. And a comparable rate, we've got the town of Oliver's rate of $225 for a single-family dwelling. And using the same equation that we would have utilized for the regional area, including the parcel tax, it's $316. So as you see, our rates are still lower than some of our other member municipalities. And basically, the increase in the rates will increase our general revenues by $16,000. So the recommendation is to give first three readings to this bylaw.
Thanks, Mr. Zackel. Council, please. Councillor Chadsey. First three readings? Okay, thank you. Councillor Rhodes, seconder. Any discussion on that? Yes, Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you. I was really pleased to see the Sani dump on there. That's going to be for all the RVs that stay in here in our community and that pass through. This is something that council has looked at for the last couple of years, and it was really been difficult to find a location. So I congratulate you and Public Works for finding a spot.
Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just for clarity, under the community part of the implications, that's improved lake water quality.
That's correct.
Yeah, our water that we got coming out of our taps is just fine.
I stand corrected.
Thank you. And I again, following up to what Councillor Chadsey said, a town-owned and operated Sani dump. There's been a lot of citizens out there saying, you know, we're a resort municipality. Why don't we have one? So this is we're actually, council is quite excited about this. It's a real good expenditure, and it's going to be up in the industrial park. So I hope, and of course, the other thing with the Sani dump is where you're going to put one. But I believe in this case we have the right location for it. So, anything further from council? All in favor? Opposed? That has got first three readings. Director Zackel on bylaw number 2, H2, Water District Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 124103, and 124203, 2011 for first three readings. Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you again, Mayor Ross. So we do have two bylaws being brought forward here. One is the Water District Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw, and the other one is the Town Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw. A brief summary of the operating expenditures for 2011. We have our operating expenditures less transfers to reserves, contingencies, and capital expenditures, and they are also decreasing by $23,575. Which is a 1.58% decrease. We're proposing a $1 per month increase or a $12 per year increase to single-family residential domestic water, with the percentages being increased accordingly to the water district of 3.6% across the board, with the exception of not adjusting the irrigation water charges. And town user fees increasing by 4.49%. The increase in rates will allow for additional capital projects. The amount increased, the amount increased by $120,280 to a grand total of $368,880 for 2011. We have a number of capital projects with respect to the water fund that we're proceeding with, and a couple of quite significant projects. They start off with the water metering for the high-end water meter users. That's a continuation from last year to complete. We have our source to tap study / assessment, and that's just to critique our water sources. We have our 340 reservoir expansion. This one here is to, if I understand correctly, to triple our water supply for the community, for improved fire protection and water supply in case of power outages, things of that nature. We have a water main improvement, the water distribution main for 74th to Curlew. We've got this is Water District Station number 9, electrical system upgrading for the construction of that. And we have the Oasis Vedette Drive on-site services, and this is for, again, that development at Peanut Pond. Now, these capital projects that we got forward coming in 2011, they total $1,987,100. Sources of funding are coming from operating funds of $368,880, reserves of $965,120, development cost charges of $514,000, and other contributions, which are developer contributions for the Vedette Drive upgrading, $152,100. Implications for our community, again, is improved infrastructure and increased water capacity. The single-family residential rate for the town of Osuyas will be $279, and for the water district would be $328. And this as well, we've got a comparison with the town of Oliver for their single-family dwelling residential rate at $338. Organizationally, there's no changes, but from the budget perspective, these increases in rates will increase revenues in total by $61,100. And the recommendation is to give first three readings to these two bylaws.
Councilor Cronmiller.
I'll move first three readings.
Yep, seconder. Okay, so the water district is the 1241.03. Maybe we already have the seconder up there, so I'll do the town one, which is 1242.03. I'm going to do the one that I had Councilor Cronmiller, so we'll do 1242.03, 2011 for first three readings. Councilor Cronmiller making the motion, and seconder was Councilor Ryan. Okay. Any discussion on? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we'll do the rural district rates, which will be bylaw 1241.03, 2011. Councilor Morera, Councilor Laranjo. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Zackel. Bylaw number 3, Waste Management Services and Regulations Amendment Bylaw number 1267.03 for first 3 readings. Report from Director of Finance, Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. This bylaw amendment being brought forward is for a multitude of changes for not only our landfill fees or sanitary landfill fees, but also for a couple methods of collecting for yard and garden waste and within our community collection system. As an overview, it has been the direction of Council to work towards improved recycling opportunities, efficiencies, and improvements for waste and recycling collection and increased waste diversion from the active face of the Osoyoos landfill. At the January 17th regular meeting of Council, BFI Canada was awarded a 5-year contract with a potential 2-year extension commencing July 1st of this year for the collection of garbage, compostable materials, large item collection, and processing and marketing of recyclable materials. In BFI's proposal, there were a few options to allow for changes to the existing service that was being provided, and includes increasing the number of large items being collected once per year from 1 item to 2 items. The other one was the glass collection would no longer be offered as a curbside service and changed by having a glass bin at the Reuse It Bottle Depot and a second location at the Osoyoos Sanitary Landfill. And thirdly was the yard and garden waste collection to be increased from 1 collection per month from the months of March to November to a bi-weekly yard and garden waste collection from March 1st to November 30th. In discussions with Mr. Aitken from BFI Canada, he has confirmed, if it is Council's wishes, that his company could begin the bi-weekly yard and garden waste pickup as early as May 3rd of this year. To ensure the message would be delivered to our residents, new calendars would need to be mailed. Notification of changes placed in our local paper, the Osoyoos Times, and information placed on the town's website and delivered through our local e-news. In addition, businesses in the community would also need to be notified of the new requirement that only craft-style yard waste bags would be accepted for the yard waste collection in the town of Osoyoos. That's if Council wishes to proceed with that. The 2011 curbside garbage and recycling calendars were distributed to residents at the beginning of this year for just a period of 6 months. That was with the intention of starting the new services July 1st. What we're doing, or what I'm proposing here, the changes that are being brought forward, is to move up the bi-weekly yard and garden waste collection to May 3rd of this year. Large item collection that was dated for May 17th, to increase the collection from 1 large item to 2 large items. And as well, keep the glass collection dates of March 22nd and June 14th in our collection system as is at this present time, so that we can establish the secondary locations for glass collection pickup within the community. The glass collection as a curbside service is a very costly service when considering the volume of glass that's being collected. Offering a location for glass to be recycled at the local Reuse It site and the Osoyoos Sanitary Landfill are effective alternatives. Due to no recycling opportunities for glass collection in our area, glass is currently being utilized as partial landfill cover. Right now, the glass is being delivered to the Oakey Falls Sanitary Landfill and used for partial cover there. And what we proposed is to cut down on carbon emissions, reduce travel time of the contractor. We can utilize that material as partial cover for our sanitary landfill. The yard and garden waste service that's being proposed to be expanded by increasing the number of collections from once per month to a bi-weekly service for March through November. This increase in cost of service can be taken care of in respect to how we deal with how the yard and garden waste is collected. And by eliminating the clear plastic bags and utilizing craft-style compostable yard and garden waste bags, we can reduce the costs of this service in the cost of what it is, or what the cost is for debagging, pardon me. That estimated cost of debagging was $104 per ton. It was quite significant. What's being proposed for the yard and garden waste is a combination of a number of things. Reusable containers, which would be clearly marked. These would be provided with labels to mark them. The second alternative is the bundles established in a certain size. And the third was the craft-style yard waste bags. When searching the internet on the level of strength of these yard waste bags, they've sustained lower mainland water levels or rains, so they hold up to moisture. They work very well as far as standing up by themselves, so that they're easily filled. They are a little bit more expensive, but in the long run, it's a benefit to the community. We also have a number of fees being changed with respect to Schedule A of this landfill agreement, or landfill amendment bylaw, pardon me. One of them is the garbage tags for the additional bag tag. This rate being proposed is to increase from $1.50 to $2. The additional revenue is proposed to be utilized to assist with ongoing advertising and recycling costs. The demolition waste, this rate is proposed to increase from $125 to $200 per ton, and the increase in revenue will assist in the additional costs of the landfill contractor to be able to source separate the demolition material waste and minimize the impact on our active face in the landfill. This rate change is also to ensure that we're comparable with the Campbell Mountain landfill. Currently, our rate is a lot less than they are. We also want to introduce a new rate for the recyclable gypsum board. This new proposed rate is $85 per ton. It's less than demolition waste, and we're trying to initiate, encourage source separation at a reduced rate. We also wanted to establish another rate for oversized tires. This proposed rate is the $200 per ton to be comparable with the Campbell Mountain landfill. When these tires are being recycled, we are charged a surcharge for the oversized tires. The undersized tires go through the process and are free for the recycling portion, but the oversized tires are charged. The yard waste under Section 5F of the bylaw is just to do the rewording to reflect the new requirement of the craft-style recyclable bags and the other methods of collection for yard waste materials. And in addition, we have one more new item, and that's a fee for mattresses and box springs. And this new rate proposed is $6 per mattress and per box spring, and the additional revenue being proposed would be utilized to have them dismantled and source separated as well, so that we're ensuring that the wood and the metal are not going into the active face of the landfill as well. So our sanitary landfill operator is currently transitioning into the phase 2 of the landfill. The new areas being established for designating areas for source separated glass, concrete, asphalt shingles, and recyclable gypsum board should all be ready by June 1st of this year. He's currently working on the road to complete for phase 2, and once that's done, then he'll be able to get these other locations established. Some implications for our community. Improved yard and garden waste collection allows for more collections during the year. Increased level of service to allow for 2 large items to be collected rather than 1 for May 17th. A change in method of glass collection due to cost effectiveness of the system. Continued effort for waste diversion at the sanitary landfill to extend the lifespan for our residents. Organizationally, staff time is going to be required to implement the changes as proposed. All these changes can be done during the normal operating hours and will not require additional resources. And from a budget perspective, there is no change to the 2011 garbage and recycling rate for the residents. We're able to maintain the 2010 level. The additional revenues generated from the increase to the fees and charges to the sanitary landfill will cover the increase in costs for the additional source separating activities at the sanitary landfill. And savings from not allowing plastic yard and garden waste bags will allow for expanding the yard and garden waste collection from once per month to a bi-weekly collection from March to November. And the recommendation is to give the first 3 readings to this amending bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Zackel. I just haven't heard that much good news in one session about the landfill and no frequency or frequency increases and no cost increases. I'm just going to, without even looking, go directly to Councillor Rhodes for the motion, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So I'll move first 3 meetings, and I would like to comment on that if there's a seconder.
Councillor Chads, please. Councillor Rhodes speaking to the motion.
So it's not very often that you get to acknowledge in the public forum like we're here today that you actually enjoy talking about garbage in our community. So I'll just clear the air. I really enjoy talking about it. One statistic I'd like to throw out there is that our landfill audit statistics have proven that over 40% of all of the material in our landfill is in fact compostable material. And the fact that we're going to start picking up yard waste a little bit more frequently and putting them into craft bags is not a direction for you to do so. You still should compost in your backyard, and all of this material is very, very compostable. So great bylaw. I just love every aspect of it. We're moving forward. It's a good thing for our community, but please don't use this as a venue to put out your compostable materials because you don't want to deal with it yourself. Because really, at the end of the day, it is your responsibility, and you get the best material in the world in a big hurry in this community that you can put on your gardens or whatever.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Anyone else on council? Councillor Chadsey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank staff for the results of this bylaw. It took Mr. Zackel this long just to tell us what's in the bylaw. I cannot imagine how long it took to resource to go out to the different waste management companies and to work to think on behalf of the community to come up with what we need to personalize the waste management pickup and to give it a sense of community. And so thank you to you and all who were involved. Great job.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. I guess I'm going to jump in on this one a little bit. I'm still very, very excited about it. And just for the people at home, when we're talking craft bag, it's that big brown yard bag, but it's brown paper. Sort of a double layer brown paper, and it in itself is compostable, so it doesn't have to be debagged. It just goes in there. But for myself and my place, I'm going to go to a hard-sided container, wheel it out every 2 weeks. So that is the option. I know that at one point it was sort of mentioned that it looked like it was only the craft bag. It is a hard-sided item that you can take out there like a regular one. It will have a decal on it so that everyone knows that it's for yard waste. And going back to what Councillor Rhodes said, the compostables are your kitchen scraps are not to be in there. They are still to be composted in your backyard. This is for yard and garden waste, the twigs, the little grass, and all that stuff that the ardent gardeners of the South Okanagan do. So, like I said, I'm going to go out and buy a hard-sided container and wheel it out to the curb every time, and we don't have to have a bag sitting there. So that keeps your costs down too. Council, have any other comments on this? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you, Mr. Zackel.
Thank you.
The next item is the Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw number 1280, 2011 for adoption. This is a short item that we do every year. It's mandatory by the Community Charter or maybe the Local Government Act. I always get those two not quite right, but it is mandatory, and no, we are not borrowing any money. Mr. Zacco, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Yes, this is as per Section 177 of the Community Charter, and this is to establish our line of credit with our local financial institution. And this bylaw now is before Council for adoption.
Thank you. Moving the Councillor Cronmiller, seconder, Councillor Chadsey. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Mr. Zackel. Great to have you here. And I guess the next one you'll be here for will be the budget. Thank you. Next item under bylaws is the official community plan amendment bylaw number 1230.09/2011 and zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.84/2011, the fire hall property for adoption. Report from our community planner and the approving officer, Mr. Steve Shannon. Mr. Shannon.
Yeah, you guys should be familiar with these two bylaws for the fire hall site. On January 17th, Council gave them first reading, and that was followed by a public hearing on February the 10th. An uncontested public hearing, I should say. There was only one resident that spoke to the bylaw amendments, and they were in favor of proceeding with the land use changes. And on February 21st, Council read the bylaws for a second and third time. Once these bylaws are approved, they can be forwarded to the ALC for their consideration of removing the properties from the ALR. And I should also point out that on March the 1st, bylaw 1085.84, the zoning amendment was approved by the Minister of Transportation pursuant to the Transportation Act. Their bylaw approval is conditional upon no direct access to Highway 97 from the subject property. That's through that little area of road dedication. Okay. And that they acquire the road dedication through the subdivision part of the planning process anyway.
That's part of the standard procedure. Yep.
For this property.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Looking for the recommended motion. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Ryan, any discussion? Hearing none, motion to adopt. Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Mr. Shannon.
Thank you.
Next item of business would be some council meeting reports. This is fairly standard. Meeting expenses for the councillors that have been attending meetings out of town. There is one for Councillor Ryan at the Okanagan Regional Library Board in Kelowna for 1 day meeting and $100, and one for Councillor Rhodes for a solid waste meeting in Penticton. That was the full day also for $100. Motion to pay these fine councillors. Councillor Cronmiller, Councillor Chadsey, all in favor. Opposed? Carried. Checks are in the mail. Next item of business is the fire inspections. And these are fairly new item here, fire inspection as per the Fire Service Act. And we have a report from Mr. Neil Pageant, our Senior Building Inspector.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This report does relate to fire inspections as per the Fire Services Act. At the request of Council, staff has researched the viability of providing for the regular fire safety inspection of public buildings within our jurisdiction internally rather than by way of contract with a private fire safety inspector. Currently, the service is provided by Safety by Design Inspection Service under contract with the town. That contract expires on March 1st, 2012, and the annual cost is $11,931 as per the signed agreement. Section 26 of the Fire Services Act states that a municipal council must provide for a regular system of inspection of hotels and public buildings in the municipality. A municipal council may authorize persons, in addition to the local assistant to the fire commissioner, to exercise some or all of the powers under sections 21 to 23 of the Act, including the authority to inspect the premises, gain entry to buildings, write correction orders, and write orders for buildings where the owners are absent. Staff contacted the fire commissioner's office for an opinion on how this regulation is interpreted and received the following response. Within the Act, The term officer is defined as a local assistant to the fire commissioner, and in a municipality, the chief police officer, and any other person authorized by the municipal council to exercise some or all of a local assistant's powers under this part. Council may authorize an officer to exercise some or all of the local assistant's powers and duties, including the regular inspection. However, if that person is not appointed as a local assistant, their powers of entry and ability to write orders is impaired or limited. Therefore, an officer should be recommended for appointment as a local assistant to the fire commissioner by way of an official letter to the fire commissioner's office requesting such appointment. There's currently one district that I'm aware of, the district of Coldstream, that currently utilizes its building inspector to perform those duties. He has been appointed as a local assistant to the fire commissioner's office. Implications for the community. I feel that it may allow for some relief for building owners within the town by having to deal with one official rather than one, as of now they have to deal with the building inspector for buildings, fire inspector for fire inspection services. It may allow for some relief for property owners. Organizational, the job description of the building inspector would have to be revised to include the requirement to be recognized as a local assistant to the fire commissioner's office to perform the duty accordingly. And the budget implications, there will be some initial and ongoing training costs associated. There are several online courses available for local assistants, and there are 2 levels of fire safety inspector service programs available through the JI, the Justice, and the National Fire Protection Association. There are also some codes and standards available in print form, and I should have put in here that electronically they're available as well, that the assistant would require in the performance of the duties. The options here are to proceed with the recommendation to the Fire Commission's office of appointment of the building inspector as a local assistant to the fire commissioner. Staff can prepare a letter for the mayor's signature to this effect. Or number 2, to continue the current system of enlisting the services of a private safety inspection company to perform those. Staff recommend.
Go ahead.
Staff recommending that council direct staff to proceed with a letter to the fire commissioner's office recommending the building inspector appointed.
Thank you, Mr. Padgett. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a brief question. We have a contract now that's in place for approximately another year. Is it something we can terminate early, or what is our intention there? Is there?
I don't know whether it can be terminated early. Maybe Jeanette can answer that.
Days notice, review the contract, but I would expect
A certain amount of time, yes.
Another thing that goes hand in hand with that is if we're really not prepared for it.
Have to have the training.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I would certainly like to move that we proceed direction, and that we direct staff to proceed with a letter to the fire commissioner's office recommending that the building inspector in the town of Vesuvius be appointed as a local assistant.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion on that, Councillor Rhodes?
Just a quick question. Do you anticipate any, obviously because you're the building inspector, do you anticipate any conflict with your current duties? Anything you could see would get in the way of performing those duties?
No, I don't see any conflict. I think what would probably have to happen, and especially in our best interest in town, is if we're going to start this program of doing these inspections internally, that we start in our own backyard, to our own buildings. Because the way the things have done up until now, we have a private contractor doesn't want to get too involved in public buildings once his contractor. That has a lot to do. I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Where was I? Yeah.
Starting with
no conflict.
First.
Yeah. No, I don't see a great deal of conflict there, other than the fact that if we're going to start this program and do the inspections internally, then we start with our own buildings.
Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you. Neil, I noticed that our current fire chief has a few reservations, and some of them are the impact on you as an individual within the community and the reception you might get as a town employee. And I'm wondering, there is some training that you have to go through. This is not something you can start right away.
That's right.
If the motion is passed. But is there the ability for you to go with the current inspector and just get a sense, get kind of get the people used to you?
Yeah, and that's a question I have that I wanted to discuss with perhaps our Director of Corporate Services, whether information that Safety by Design contains public information, that they're private information. Well, that's one of the things that I'm going to have to look into, is whether or not I can get the information, the buildings, of where all these buildings are at, rather than starting from scratch, or whether that's protected information under the contract. I'll have to discuss that.
And the other issue is that you're the building inspector, so any of them that have to do any upgrades have to come to you as the building inspector.
Which they
for
do
the
now
permit.
anyway. When Safety by Design has a building that needs addressing for a fire code and a building, it comes to me and work that situation out together. So that will basically.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So we'll get that process started, and I think it's kind of neat, and little small savings to the town, and yeah, let's see how that works out.
Yeah, I think it'll work pretty well. I'll have to work it into my schedule, but it's kind of a program where it's not going to take all year. Right. Do it in the wintertime when the building permits are down a little bit. Sure. That kind of thing, and make sure we do the follow-up before the spring comes.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you. Next item of business is the Wine Country Racing Association. I have a report here from the manager for Community Services, Development Services, Mr. Newman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Today I bring forth a report regarding the Wine Country Racing Association Airport Use Agreement. And as per the report in front of you, the Wine Country Racing Association has had several good years of racing at the airport, and I have met with the chairman of the association, Doug Blatchford, and reviewed the 2011 agreement with the new dates, and at this time I recommend that the town sign the airport use agreement for 2011.
Okay. Councilor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll so move.
Okay, and Councilor Cronmiller. Any further discussion on? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. So they're racing for another year.
Racing for another year.
Yeah, we'll look for their schedule of events.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Next item of business under the Resort Municipality, there's some expenditures and the 5-year plan from Mr. Barry Romanko, our CAO. Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. In front of you, you have a report on the Resort Municipality Initiative Expenditure Plan for 2011 to 2015. Just as a bit of background for the community, is that Soyuz is very fortunate to be designated as one of the 14 resort municipalities in the province of BC, and as a result of that special designation, receives around $250,000 a year to assist with developing amenities and services that facilitates the further development of the tourism industry. And a part of that requirement to continue with the expenditures of the funds that do come to the town is a requirement for a 5-year capital plan. There is a 5-year capital plan in existence now. However, Council looked at the projects in the plan and provided some additional direction in terms of projects that they would like to see in the plan, and also as a result of a consultation with tourism stakeholders in April of 2010, we received feedback and direction to assist in developing a new plan. The new plan is attached for Council's review and a recommendation from staff, and basically addresses many of the new projects that Council has identified and the stakeholders, as well as supporting the projects that were in the plan previously. The new plan provides for the expenditures of the grant funds based on the most recent direction from the province of BC, and that those directions include that they don't like to see surplus monies sitting in the municipalities' accounts. They want to see projects developed. They also want to see annual allotments of funds expended in that particular year. So this new plan addresses those particular guidelines, and also in terms of future expenditures, and also has an expenditure plan for the $477,000 that is sitting in our accumulated fund right now. Just as a matter of background information as well, the province also provided additional direction that they really don't like to see the operational projects included in the expenditure plan, and that all projects put forth may not get the approval of the provincial government. It's up to the municipality to be able to provide proof and that the proposed expenditure will actually enhance tourism in the community. Before you see the plan that has a planned expenditure of $1,777,000, and it is also the goal of the provincial government that the municipalities lever additional funds to assist in tourism development. So the levering of funds is not reflected in this particular plan, but certainly will be reflective when we provide for the report, the annual report that must be completed to the provincial government. I'll just quickly go over the plan. This plan was reviewed by Council at the February 21st Committee of the Whole meeting. Subsequent to that, it was reviewed this morning again, and additional direction was provided. Just as a matter of highlight, in terms of the projects that will be presented in the plan, include future development of the trail system in the area, some funds towards affordable housing projects, wayfinding and interactive signage, additional support for the beach cleaner, a public art and heritage display proposal, airport shuttle and public transportation, continued funding of the boat trailer parking area, the Waterfront Enhancement program, basically the carrying out of our Waterfront Master Plan, Marina Facility Enhancement, Visitor Activity Enhancement, Community Beautification, Waterfront Safety, some small amount for Program Administration, and also Spartan Drive Environmental Area Development. A large portion of these funds have been identified for the Waterfront Facility Enhancement, and we will see expenditures in the amount of approximately $700,000 in the year 2011, as identified in the proposed capital budget. For today's request from administration to Council, the administration is looking for Council to approve the expenditure plan in principle and provide direction to administration to seek out consultation with stakeholders within the next 4 weeks, or to, as a matter of them reviewing the plan, provide a request for additional information and move the approval of the plan to the March 21st meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Remenko. Council, please. The Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll move that Council identifies project changes and approves the expenditure plan for consultation with stakeholders within 4 weeks, which is option number 1 as presented by staff.
Okay, thank you. And the seconder on that, Councillor Ryan. Just before I open it up to the councillors for some discussion, people in Osoyoos really don't know how fortunate we are to be a part of this coalition. This resort municipality initiative is absolutely huge. When you look at the numbers out there, you're seeing $700,000 to spend, and I'm looking over here at the 5-year total of $1,777,000. If it lasts that long, we never know how long these are going to last with the provincial government, but we have been assured it is in this year. We're very, very fortunate. 14 communities in BC, and we're one of them, and it's just adding a whole lot to our community and our way of life, and actually to our taxes, because we're doing an awful lot of work here, and very, very fortunate. So, Council, any comments? Councillor Rhodes?
Just a couple of quick comments. As our CAO, Mr. Romanko, was going down that list, there is some breakout information in there that I won't go into at this time, but very, very interesting stuff. One project that's included in there would be a washroom at our main Gyro Beach area down there, and I know Mr. Romanko is trying to be modest about the whole thing and present the information, but thank you very much for putting that on the list, and well worth the public scrutiny of that list. Really, really good projects, and you know, Mayor Wells said it all. We're a very, very fortunate community in this province.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, well, I'm happy to be supporting this motion and the work that our CAO has done with this program of resort municipality initiatives. We are talking some really big bucks here, and we're also talking some incredible enhancements to our community and to our resort and our visitor infrastructure. And we've done this for several years. We have many things we can look at, and we are going to continue some of those same things, like our trail system. We're going to have a wonderful beachfront with washrooms and with a marina, and we would simply not be able to do these things to the extent that we are able, or with the speed with which we're able to do them without these kinds of grants. So even when we looked at what Mr. Zacco was showing us, the contribution from our operating revenues to these projects is usually a small portion. It's grants and things like this that have made them all possible. And so we truly are not only fortunate, but we're moving ahead, I think, very creatively to improve our structure. We know that people come for the lake, but they stay for the warm welcome and for what we do, and so we're going to keep doing it.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This seems to me a really good time to once again thank the people who attended the workshop last April. There was a real cross-section from the community. The results are what we're looking at now. So thank you again for your involvement, and this is really quite exciting.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. Councillor Crommiller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Bringing up the rear.
Yeah. It's a really feel-good story, so I think my other councillors have certainly expressed the good things about it, and certainly it's exciting in our community to see the amenities that can be provided through some provincial funding and assistance. As I've worked through different things, whether it's the waterfront or the water safety and some affordable housing and things as my terms on council, some of them seemed like pie in the sky, and this is giving us an opportunity to realize some of them coming to fruition, and it's not really pie in the sky anymore. So I really look forward to seeing this plan come into play, and that seeing some of these initiatives being completed.
Thanks, Councillor Cronmiller. And the motion that's on the floor is to go to the consultation process, and I believe we'll be looking at some of the same folks that came out for the focus group over a year ago and got this thing kicked off. And we'll be sitting down in a public process to run these concepts by that group or a new group or whoever's going to come out. But we will be advertising the event in the very near future. So without any further input from council, all in favor of this moving forward, opposed, carried. We'll be looking forward to your input within 4 weeks. Thanks a lot. And the last item under, no, not quite the last item, sorry. Item 5 under business would be the request for proposals for the Gyro Beach. This has been around a couple times now. This is the issue dealing with the parasailing location. The Director of Corporate Services, Ms. Van Vienen, please, could you help us with the report?
Thank you. Council did put a portion of the Gyro Beach property out for RFP for use of water-based activities back in December 2010. Council reviewed the 3 proposals that were received at that time and directed staff to put out a tender with clear parameters. Those parameters included a minimum lease rate of $3,000 for the term being May 15th to September 30th. Use must be strictly for water-based activities. The ecological impact will be seriously considered by council. No use of personal watercrafts will be permitted. Storage units shall be of a temporary portable nature. There will be no use of the property on July 1st to allow for fireworks setup. References were required. Liability insurance in the amount of $3 million was required, and all Transport Canada certification and licensing to be met and proven for all equipment and staff. The RFP closed at noon on February 25th. 3 proposals were received as follows. Wake pilot wakeboarding submission met all the listed criteria with the exception of a leasing rate, which was submitted at $1,500 for the term. References were provided in the form of 4 letters of reference, including 2 local businesses and 3 clients. ATB water sports submission met all the criteria, including a lease rate of $3,000 for the term. 2 references were provided. One was of a general nature from a national body, the Water Ski and Wakeboard Canada, and the second was from a location in town from where he has operated in the past 5 years. And then finally, Sunflight parasailing proposal submitted met all criteria except the term lease offer was $1,500, and references were very general and provided no specific contact names or phone numbers. Implications: the community impact is loss of beachfront property for park area. There is no organizational impacts, and the budget impact will be $3,000 revenue to the town. And staff recommend that council accept the proposal from ATB Water Sports for the use of Gyro Beach for the term of May 15th to September 30th, 2011 at a rate of $3,000.
Thank you, Ms. Van Vienen. Council, please. Council wishes. Councillor Ryan.
Mr. Mayor, I would accept and move the recommendation of staff that we accept the proposal from ATB Water Sports for use of Gyro Park for the term May 15, 2011 to September the 30th, 2011 at a rate of $3,000.
Councillor Cronmiller, second. Thank you. On the table for discussion. Council, please. Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you. This is a question to the Director of Corporate Services. On ATB Water Sports, you say that there's a letter of recommendation from a location in town from where he has operated for the past 5 years. Where would he be operating? Do you know? Like, was this through another business? Or?
It was through another business property located inside the town boundaries, Lakeshore Drive, I believe.
So a business property or a private property?
I believe it was business property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. One more item, which would be the addition to the agenda, and I'm going to get Councillor Ryan to lead this. This is kind of a unique opportunity for the town. It's relating to some child care excellence awards. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last meeting, Council received correspondence from the Minister of Children and Family Development and Child Care asking for nominations for individuals and organizations who deliver exceptional services to British Columbia's children and families. And so we directed this to staff to investigate and bring forward some potential nominees. And so our Director of Recreation and Leisure Services did that, and he looked at some of the programs that were being offered by individuals through our Sonora Center and through our own recreation program, and at other organizations and activities in the community that might be candidates. And there is there are various awards, but the research that was done led staff to recommend that the Osoyoos Child Care Center be nominated for the Innovation Award of Excellence. And the Child Care Center, of course, is a nonprofit organization that here in Osoyoos, right near the elementary school, that provides parents with positive, high-quality early education experiences and has done so since 1980. And particularly in their programming, center staff have been very creative with incorporating local topics and areas of interest as much as possible. Programs routinely go out into the community on field trips. They have guest speakers, and the children's learning and interests are focused on the importance of strong community relations. So we were very happy to see this, and so I would like to propose a motion that we as council endorse the nomination of the Osoyoos Child Care Center, and that they be put forward to the Minister for consideration for the Innovation Award.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion on that, please? I guess I will, just that it's a great organization. I've been down there a couple times with my mayor's hat on. I'm having a harder and harder time fitting in those desks, or there are hardly even chairs down there anymore. But no, it's been a real great asset to our community and a great service to our community. And they run a lot of different programs down there. And they don't get a lot of recognition. It's sort of tucked out of the way, but believe me, all the mums with school age kids sure know where that place is. So I think this is looking really good as we forward this and forward this recommendation for an award. So, all in favor of this? Opposed? Carried. Thanks a lot. Time to pay some bills here. Oh, the notice of meeting. I'm sorry. You've been so patient.
Waiting, Mr. Mayor. Waiting.
Okay. So under item J, notice of motion. This is a parliamentary act we haven't used very much. As you can see, I misplaced it, but we are going to entertain a notice of motion from Councillor Ryan, and I'll turn it over to him. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a notice of motion that I gave at the last meeting, and I will just say by preface that I have tweaked the motion just slightly, but we'll come to that in a moment. But this is a motion about the identification of materials that are used on public properties in the town for turf growth, weed, and insect control. In mid-January, at our meeting of the Committee of the Whole, we had a speaker, Miss Jerry Lynn Mackey, who's a health promotion coordinator for the BC Division of the Cancer Society, who addressed us on the possibility of a town bylaw banning the use of cosmetic pesticides on public and private lands. Now, these are pesticides that are defined as those that are for non-agricultural and non-forestry use. In other words, they're the things that make your grass greener and weed-free and that sort of thing. And there was an interest in council in this matter, but any action obviously would require some further detailed investigation. before such a bylaw could be considered. So as an overview, in the material that was presented, there were various citations about some of the concerns that medical people have and researchers, medical researchers have about the effect of various pesticides and herbicides and so on human health. And there are certainly, through research, they've shown that there are consistent links to serious illnesses such as cancer and reproductive problems and neurological diseases that are linked somehow to the use of these materials. And children are particularly at greater risk than others. Now, the town, we have a sustainability initiative that we're involved in. We have been trying to improve our community in a whole variety of ways, its health and its sustainability, both socially and economically and so on. And so it certainly is important for us to know what things we're using ourselves in our parks and in our public lands. And so in order to provide more information for the public as well as to council about what's happening so that we can make informed decisions about what other steps we might take to continue to make this a healthy environment, I would like to move that staff prepare a report on all the materials currently being used for turf growth, weed, and insect control on public lands, parks, golf courses, and playing fields within the town of Vesuvius, and that the report enumerate the names and types of materials, the frequency of their use, and the usual rate of application, and that this report be provided to council for its meeting on March the 21st.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Chadsey. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Ryan, I guess you did that with your preamble?
Pretty well, I think, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just to say that I think it is important. I know that years ago my daughter appeared before the town council where we were living, and through her urging and that of others, they were able to stop the use of pesticides in the parks where we were living. And, you know, it's a good thing. And there are many alternatives, some of which we've talked about earlier, composting and so on, which through using that on lawns and other ways of nurturing your grasses and your lawn and your garden, you can often avoid most of the uses of these materials. So this way we'll find out what we're doing and what's happening.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Cronmiller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would certainly speak in favor of this. It's always interesting when I remember back as a young lad with a putty knife digging up dandelions instead of using weed and feed. So certainly times have changed. However, I do have one question of staff, and I noticed that the report back was March 21st, and I wanted to ask Mr. Romanko if that was a realistic time, or maybe it should be a little longer than that. I know we always put things on staff, and sometimes it's need a little more time than we give them.
I inquired with our Director of Operations, and he feels that he can meet these particular time frames, and if something happens to come up, as long as he don't hold his feet to the fire, if it gets delayed for 2 weeks, we should be okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Chadsey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to commend Councillor Ryan for bringing this forward.
And it is very timely. Most communities out there, I see the city of Vancouver and all that lower mainland and Surrey, they're all in the same issue right now. A little bit ahead of us, but we're there and we are aware and think that it should be dealt with. So we're on that first step. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now a few bills to pay. The general Sun Bowl Arena and payroll accounts, cash requirements to March the 7th in the following amounts. The general fund, $279,751.97. Sun Bowl Arena in the amount of $1,036.21. And payroll accounts in the amount of $66,833.71. Any comments from council? Hearing none, these have been adopted by consensus. The next item is building permits, summary of building permits. Again, this is at the top of my wish list. I wished it was more and I wished it was longer. For the month, it was $78,500, 5 small permits. Total to date is just over $100,000 for the year. So we're looking for a motion to receive. Councillor Cronmiller.
Here, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Good comment, too.
Okay. And Councillor Ryan is the seconder?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I really wanted to comment on the last one here.
I didn't.
I was very pleased to see that one.
Okay.
It's been a while coming, and it deals with a relocation of a retaining wall on Lobelia Drive. And, well, actually, it's not Lobelia. It's probably on Jasmine.
It's on Jasmine.
But Lobelia is the address. Well, I'm pleased to see that building permit, so hopefully see some more action there in the near future.
Thank you, Councillor Cronmiller. Any other comments? Motion to receive, all in favor. Opposed, carried. The next item, I'll turn to Councillor Cronmiller for some, maybe a synopsis or an overview. I see some of it was in draft form and some of it was regular minutes, but this would be the minutes from February the 10th and the January the 10th meeting of the Lake Recreational and Commercial Use Task Force meeting. Councillor Cronmiller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was interesting when I looked at it. I thought, well, we've already met since then, so we're kind of ahead of our minutes here. But certainly, there's items here that we've looked at and discussed. Some of them we've looked at throughout the day today. We talk about proper buoying of our swimming area, public swimming areas. We've designated money in our financial plans to provide buoys for mark off all our swimming areas, legal buoys. So that's one issue that's come forward from our meetings. We've talked about the area on Acacia Court and along below Jasmine, along the lake there. We've reached a consensus there to deal with that. Basically, one buoy, one dock, one boat, and a permit. So that would be our recommendation to council when our report comes, that we've allowed the people there to, in our discussions anyway, to continue as they are, but requiring a permit. Taking some ownership there for some things. Trying to glance through this in a hurry. Basic work. We talked about commercial entities and where they operate from, and we're looking at hotels and places there. We've looked at the beachfront along Motel Row when it's buoyed off. How we'll deal with boats along there with motels along using a recommendation. In fact, from the mayor, we looked at having built-in laneways for a boat could use marked off as a lane where boats would be able to come in and get to shore in a laneway and mark it off that way. That seems agreeable with some of the motel owners along there. The number of those probably in question, but that's okay. We'll deal with that. But certainly members of the task force who are owners along that way are in agreement with it. So we've worked through all of the issues that we've identified, and in our last meeting on Friday, I was going to report on that later, but I'll do it now. And we've worked through everything, and now we plan on our next meeting putting all of this together, and one more meeting after that to finalize a plan that we'll send to council with our recommendation. So hopefully within next month and a half, we should have a finalized report for council, that task force.
Oh, wow. That sounds great. So a motion, I need the motion to receive.
Yeah, okay, a motion to receive the minutes from the 10th of February and the 10th of January.
Okay, and Councillor Ryan on seconder. Councillor Rhodes, do you have any comments? You sat on that committee. You have something into that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I know sometimes we get criticized for striking all of these task force, and folks always, come up with comments like, well, why aren't you doing the work yourself, Public input is absolutely mandatory in these kind of projects, and I just want to kind of vet out one little aspect of this. Our swimming areas for the past 2 or 3 years have not really been designated all that well around our community. Lots of times there's some confusion about where boats can go and where people can swim. Well, this task force really put down a strong mandate that they wanted it separated in its entirety, and already that one little aspect of this task force has been brought to council. As far as I know, it's still on our budget for this year. We're looking at some other alternative ways of paying for it. But these task forces, they really, really do work, and just wanted to kind of bring that one little thing out that we can look forward to having proper buoys. Our swim areas are going to be marked really well, and we're almost completed with that project already, and will be in place for this season. And so support of these things and jumping on board and getting involved with them is very, very important. It really does help move forward complicated projects like this.
Thanks a lot, Councilor Rhodes. Those were just great comments. Yeah, that's wonderful. Any other comments from council? Okay, motion to, Councilor Ryan.
I'd just like to say, I know they haven't reported fully yet, but, just seeing the number of people there and the attendance has been very good, and our staff and 2 councilors here who've been guiding this, they just sort of worked their way systematically through all the issues that you put before them when they first came. And I remember you laid on all these things that were pretty tough questions, and and we finished early, and they wanted to start their meeting right away. So they've certainly been after it in earnest, and I'm really looking forward to. It's very encouraging to see what they've done already, but I'm looking forward to the final report. And I think the members of the staff and the council and the members of the public who've been part of this deserve our appreciation already for the extreme effort that they've put into this.
Thanks, Councilor Ryan. Motion to receive. All in favor? Sorry, all in favor? Opposed? We have received those both of those reports. Under reports K4, our report from the CAO. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just some highlights from various departments of the administration, starting in the Recreation Department. The Central Construction Group will be starting on the windows at the Sonora Center on April 4th, and they hope to be completed by April 8th. The people should be watching for our spring leisure guide as it was mailed out March 4th, and start registering for those programs before they fill up. The invitations and nomination packages have been sent out for the Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon on April 16th. And the Spring Break Camp will run from March 21st to April 1st, and there's still some slots available there. Certainly the arena is a busy place with the Coyotes in the playoffs, but looking to the economic development side, we have at least 2 junior camps that will be held in April, bringing quite a few people to town using the facilities at the arena. In terms of corporate services, they've been busy with the Parks and Facilities Bylaw and the Good Neighbor Bylaw that the Council had an opportunity to review today at the Committee of the Whole meeting, and also the annual report is under development right now. Finance has been busy with budget, and I think we should be seeing something probably at the next meeting in relation to budget, and also the waste management contract has taken up a lot of time. Planning and Development started with a meeting with DeStefano Architecture to discuss their draft concepts for the Southeast Meadowlark plan. So that project's moving ahead as well. And also reports on the Lake Recreation Commercial Task Force that was heard earlier that they're working on. In terms of the Community Development Department, They've met. They continue to meet with Area A representatives to take a look at developing the seasonal workers camp, and although progress is slow, there's still something that we hope to see come to fruition here for this coming summer. The Community Sustainability Action Team has met and again is doing a great job pulling information together, and they have actually, to outdo the other task force, they've got 2 days of meetings set up to use their volunteer time to move the community sustainability plan ahead. The work on the community grants and aid program will be coming to council very shortly, and the community development managers working with a group of local businesses to develop a couple of general community activities for this summer. And myself following through on meetings with the organizational review, and I had a good meeting with the staff and to review the results from our internal staff satisfaction survey.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Ramanko. A motion to receive, please. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey. All in favor? That has been received. Going into council reports, and the first one up would be Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So today I was, most of my thunder's already been done.
Okay.
And, but I had one that I wanted to update, one up on Councillor Rhodes. Kind of found this one this week, and some of the emails you get from different people, and it's kind of funny, I thought, so I brought it along. And in this email that we talked about, it talks about the price of fuel and how it's going up. But it also included a number of other things and what their cost is per gallon. But this one talks about water. And today we came out with a statement on our water for our town that costs us, to the residential component is $279 a year, which really doesn't amount to a whole lot when you look over a year. Now, if you buy bottled water in a plastic bottle, it's $1. On this example, was $1.49 for 9 ounces, which works out to $21.19 a gallon. So now we're spending $1.20 some odd cents a liter for gasoline. We're spending $21 on a gallon of water. If we turn on the tap, the water we get out of the tap is better than what's in the bottle. And it's costing us, and you wonder at how that equates to people when they look at it. If it equates it over a period of a year, I would figure that it might, it takes over once a month for a year. It costs you about $13 each month if you're buying water at the rate of 1 gallon, let alone how much more. You could turn on your tap and it's, $279. Can't figure it out. You're doubling your money buying it and drinking it out of a bottle. I really was, thought it was quite appropriate to bring that up. We have good water in our. Now, last night, the mayor and I were at the arena and watched the Coyotes, and unfortunately, they didn't do so hot. But today, we wanted to support them in their game tonight, so we got a hat, and we wanted to bring it out that we'll be there to support the Coyotes tonight, and I'm sure there'll be a change. Good luck to the boys today and the future in the playoffs.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Cronmiller. Next up is Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I'm going to talk about today, we've talked about already throughout the evening, and I'm going to talk about litter, and I'm going to really try and not get myself into any trouble. But all you have to do is look at telephone poles and or utility poles and our light standards, and you see brochures and posters and ads attached to them. And I have some samples here that I took off a couple of poles. So you've all seen them. They're huge, they're big, they're ugly, and they advertise something, and I don't really know what. We do not have a sign bylaw in town yet, but one is coming, and one is coming soon. And when that happens, and if council chooses to recognize that this is considered as litter, then council will have in that bylaw rules and regulations on this type of thing. In the meantime, they're there. They're on poles. So if this was on the ground, some of us would walk by and ignore it. It's called litter. Some of us would walk by and pick it up and put it in the nearest garbage receptacle, of which we have over 100 in this town. If it's not lying on the ground, if it's lying on a pole, in my mind, it's still litter. You can walk by, or you can do what I did. You can take it off the pole and put it in the nearest garbage. I leave it up to you. I said last week I was going to incite a riot, but I've kind of mellowed since then. So just if you see it and it angers you, I don't want you to think, well, it's too bad there's nothing I can do. There is something you can do. You can take it off the pole. The other thing I wanted to talk about was that April the 18th is the Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon. 16th. Thank you. Saturday, April the 16th. So we hope to see all the volunteers there. There's so many service groups and volunteer organizations in town, and you're all invited. And if anyone knows of somebody who does volunteer work who is not formally attached to a particular group, definitely nominate them. It isn't, you don't have to be a card-carrying somebody to have a real value in this community. And I think that's it for me, except that I support what Councillor Cronmiller said, and I know that the Coyotes are going to just do really well. And that's my report.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. Just one comment on that volunteer luncheon that's coming up. It's open to everybody who has volunteered in the town of Osoyoos in the last year, but there is a request. Phone the Sonora Center, phone the Sonora Community Center, and RSVP. It's very, very important so that we can get an idea of the number of folks that are coming, because it is a luncheon. So do that, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. And Councillor Rose.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So I wanted to remind everybody that the last meeting I deferred because I was sitting in the mayor's chair, so now I'm going to filibuster the rest of the day here. So no, not really. So anyway, I would kind of hope by this time that most of our residents would be aware of how important it is to be knowledgeable about our landfill and what we put into it, and the harmful effects of not being a part of the solution. The recent garbage audits, and I wanted everybody to know that there actually is people that go and root around in our garbage to see what's in there, have brought forward a real challenge for our residents, something that a lot of people were not aware of and has becoming an increasing problem with our solid waste and the solid waste management in our community. So it's estimated in North America that we use over 23 billion paper cups annually. These cups take 1.4 million tons of wood to produce, which is equivalent to 9.4 million trees. Some trees are small and some are big, just kind of an average. The energy used to produce these cups could power 77,000 homes for a year. These cups take 5.7 billion gallons of water in the production process, which is roughly equivalent to 85,000 Olympic-sized pools. These cups produce over 363 million pounds of solid waste. And I wanted to pause here because I think it's important to note that these statistics do not include styrofoam cups of any kind. I'm talking strictly paper ones. And the styrofoam cups problem is another 25 billion cup problem, and more than likely will be the subject of my next rant in a couple of weeks. But yesterday I performed a personal audit, went through my own garbage, found 11 cups in my garbage. And that really shocked me, but you know, it is roll up the rim time, and I get caught up in the enthusiasm. I'm sitting there typing these words on a piece of paper, and I got both my hands on the keyboard, and sitting right in between my two hands, as you had to get another paper cup full of hot coffee from a local vendor. But this is not a rant to beat up local vendors or people, but you know, these typical paper cups that we use are not made of recyclable paper, amazing enough. Paper cups are not strong enough to hold liquids, so they're treated with a resin called polyethylene, which keeps beverages warm and prevents the liquids from being absorbed into the paper and ultimately leaking all over your table or in your car. The resin keeps the cups from being recyclable. It's a hard concept to grasp, but almost all of these cups, and kudos to Councillor Chadsey, they're a very important component of littering in our community. And you know, at one time or another, they always end up in our landfills. So the process of decomposing with these cups, and they do, you know, in a few thousand years they'll decompose, but the process itself releases methane into our atmosphere, and methane is a greenhouse gas with 23 times the heat-trapping power of carbon dioxide. So it's a huge environmental concern. So the audit that I referred to earlier has produced a statistic that is almost impossible to believe, that 2% of our landfill waste is in fact paper cups. And a recent audit of a internationally recognized fast food chain in Penticton brought about another statistic that 85% of their garbage in their bins outside of their, 87% was in fact cups designed to hold liquids of different kinds, coffee, pop, etc. So, you know, you sit around and you rant about these things, and it wouldn't be fair to really do that without offering some kind of a solution. Well, in this particular case, the solution is really simple. And when you go and buy these beverages, make sure you have a container with you. There's an incredible variety of reusable beverage containers that should suit everybody's lifestyle and needs. The next time I do a personal garbage audit, I'm hoping that there's no paper cups in it.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Ryan, please.
Good, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I want to tell you about a few days that are being observed this week for special purposes. The first one is this Thursday, which is Bottled Water Free Day, and the idea there is to not use any bottled water on that day, and I'd like to because we've heard a little bit from Councillor Cronmiller already about bottled water and how much it costs and how expensive it is, and plus all the bottles that end up in our landfills and so on. And I'd like to encourage you to make that not just a bottled water free day, but a bottled water free year or a bottled water free zone in your home. And of course, what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is that you get something that is going to last and can be refilled and so on. And there's a good example, a stainless steel bottle that you can buy at a lot of shops here in Osoyoos. And you can use it, you can take it with you, and just carry it around. And there are, you know, it's a way of using our town water and always having water available, but not paying an exorbitant price for it, and not increasing the use of plastic bottles. Another day that's coming up this week, and that's tomorrow, is International Women's Day. And this actually began 100 years ago at a conference, a convention in Denmark, in Copenhagen, where 17 countries, women from 17 countries, came together to actually press for change in the world, both peace and other things that were important. And it's interesting how daily we're hearing about things in the media about assaults and other violence against women, as well as how their abilities and their accomplishments are not properly recognized. And so again, I'd like to encourage you to think about how you can show greater respect for women and acknowledge their abilities and contributions, the women in your life, the women in your sphere of influence. Now, there was in Penticton on Saturday a celebration and an award ceremony that was sponsored by the South Okanagan Women in Need Society, and there were 4 women from our community who were nominated for awards there. And I'm not sure, they do have a number of categories, but one of the people who was from our community and who was in fact nominated and honored by winning the award was Frances Soliguk, who's the owner of the Home Hardware. So I want to congratulate her, and of course in true fashion, she wasn't at the event. She was busy holding a cooking class at her place of business, and so she learned about it after the fact. But nevertheless, very deserving. So these are 2 things that I think not only do we want to think about this week and observe this week, but try to make it a year-long celebration.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan, and congratulations to Frances Soliguk. That's a great honor, and she certainly provides a lot to this community. Just the street dances alone. I think this year is going to be 24, so I could be one off. I better be careful there. But just that alone is such a huge part of our summer excitement that we have in the resort municipality of Suyas. As usual, a lot of my material has been taken. Just a couple of items. The Okanagan Basin Water Board. That's my regular monthly, and we are sending a letter to the IJC and our local MPs, Stockwell Day and Alex Adamanenko, the possibility of the changing of the orders of the Boundary Treaty Act. That is coming down in the year 2013, and we all know that there's the Osias Lake boundary water level, where they set the lake level of Osias Lake. And for the first time ever, that's being talked about, that maybe they would like to look at flow over the dam, the Zozel Dam in Orville. Well, it's quite a bit different to be talking about the lake level and having the border control that adjusts that bilateral between Washington State and the province of British Columbia. Talk about the level of the lake. That's very, very different from talking about the amount of water that flows over the dam, because you could get into situations where you're going to end up looking at a guarantee. So the Okanagan Basin Water Board is very, very concerned. We are going ahead with this letter, and it will be going to the IJC and some. I forget who it's all being CC'd to, but for sure the MPs as a moment of awareness, and I think everybody should pay attention to this. We're sort of putting that word out there. It is our lake, and if we have to start providing water in drought years or anything like that, it could be absolutely disastrous. So we are aware of it, and we are taking action. The Osias Lake Water Science Forum, which is coming up in September 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's just going to be an incredibly good forum. I'm putting that out there right now so you can save the dates for the local people. They're going to come in at $50, which is really the cost of the lunch for 2 days. So they will be invited. Students are free, and we're inviting residents from Oliver, Osoyoos, and Orville will be able to come to the conference for $50. So I'm really looking forward to that, and very excited about it. We're starting to get the program together, and this is all being done on conference call, strangely enough, with the IJC folks in Washington, D.C., and in Ottawa, Department of Fisheries and Ministry of the Environment. So this is, and a whole ton of people out of Washington State, their ecology folks and that down there. So we're putting this all together. It should be an incredible program for everybody, and keep up to date on what's happening with Osoyoos Lake, milfoil, and biological controls, and all those wonderful things. So that is coming in that third week in September. Other than that, it's been exceedingly busy. This is just, you get that month of January, and it's just a real dozer. And boy, you need that one as a dozer, because there hasn't been one day since that hasn't just been really, really busy. We're going through budget and negotiations and considerations with CUPE and the organizational review. It just doesn't seem to stop. And of course, if you sit on a side organization, Councillor Ryan or myself, they're all going through budget deliberations. So it's a very, very busy time right now. Closing out with a little local component here. Attended the Holy Spirit Festival at the Sonora Center on Saturday night. Very, very good. There was this was put on by the Portuguese community in town, and it was really interesting. It was sort of like an opera, and they had two gentlemen on stage who sang unscripted back and forth, telling a story. And one was from California, and one was from Vancouver. And they sing this story back and forth, non-scripted, and it just went on and on and on. And I didn't understand a word of it, and it was absolutely delightful. And it was sort of my little town, they grow better tomatoes than your town, or they catch more fish than your town. And it was this rivalry with humor. It was just very, very interesting to be a part of it. And of course, the food was excellent. And Maria and her crew there, congratulations for another successful year. And I think that's my report. Thank you very much. Looking for that motion to adjourn. Councillor Rhodes Chadsey, all in favor? We are adjourned. Good afternoon, folks.